Welcome back to the High Vibe Honey podcast, the space where identity meets evolution, where personal power meets purpose, and where we collapse time to step into our next level. Today, I'm joined by a woman whose presence alone activates something potent. She's an energy alchemist, a dream activator, and the founder of Indigo Flow. Marine's work is all about returning to joy, claiming your power, and expanding your impact, not by doing more, but by becoming more. She's the host of the Shift Inside podcast and a guide for those ready to access their soul's blueprint and elevate beyond what they thought was possible. She weaves the quantum, the ancestral, and the deeply human into life-altering transformation. Theta healer, intuitive channel, and spiritual powerhouse, Marine shows us what it means to be divine and human all at once. Let's see where this wild, high-frequency conversation takes us. Welcome, Marine.
Thank you so much, Katie. I'm super, super happy to be here. And what an introduction. Thank you.
Yeah, it's my honor to have you here. So let's start by talking a little bit more about your work. And I would love to know how you would describe your role as an energy alchemist to someone who is totally new to the spiritual world.
Someone totally new to the spiritual world. Okay, so how I love metaphors as well. So let's see what comes up. But basically, actually, let's bring it to physics. I know, weird, but the thing is that we are all composed of atoms. We are more energy than matter. And actually, this is something crazy I learned, I think, a few years ago. If you would take only the matter in all the humans, just the matter part, you could take all humanity and put it into a pea. Can you imagine that? This is crazy. So we are mainly energy, actually. We are frequency, we are vibration. And so energy alchemist is more like when you tap into who you are, into the energy that is inside you, this is when you can really alchemize things. This is really when you can change things. And so if you're really new to this whole world, and I guess like some people here in your audience are not that new to it, but I feel like it's always nice to remember the basics
Mm.
because in the end, healing and manifestation really works when we come back to the essence of it, to the essential parts. And so for me, the energy alchemist, this is more like how you turn your emotions is energy in motion,
Mhm.
into something greater as well. And it's more, everything is vibration. Everything has a signature, even the table that is in front of you. If you put your hand, it feels solid, but this is just like I think it's a very high vibration so that it feels solid, but it's still vibration. In your
Yeah.
body, this is vibration. In the air around you, it's vibration. And so once you understand that and you really focus because here the energy alchemist is more about you, your inner world, your what's happening, inside of you and how you feel your inner state. And to
Mhm.
me, when you're able to tap into the vibrations in your body, which means the emotions, the sensations, you're really able to change your inner reality. I don't say you will
Yes.
be able to do it with a table and make it like from solid to whoops, fluid. I mean, who knows? But at least in like for you, like in our human life, in our perspectives, you can really do it inside. And emotions that were actually very hard and crystallized from past trauma, just by looking at them, just by putting your awareness them, you can actually completely transmute them because you can imagine that your awareness is just like a laser. And when you put that laser on those, like we all have that sometimes, those heavy, stuck energy inside
Mhm.
our bodies, and we're like, oh my God, I don't want to feel that. But the thing is that when you feel into those emotions, into those sensations, you put your full awareness there, no judgment, no attaching to anything. It's just
Yeah.
like a laser that dissolves them. And this is what I mean with energy alchemist, the awareness
Yes.
that helps alchemize everything. And that's how you transmute, that's how you change this state, that's how you change this energy into a higher frequency. And well, that's just how you stop feeling stuck. That's how you feel better in your life. That's how you end up in peace. So yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh my gosh, I love this. Such a powerful explanation. And it sort of takes you back to a documentary that I watched. It's pretty old school now. I think it's probably from the 90s or maybe the 80s. I don't know if you've seen it. It's called What the Bleep. And it's on YouTube. It's Joe Dispenza and a load of other people in it. But in very similar way, it explains sort of the quantum field and energetics like that. And also goes into emotional frequency. And
Mm.
my mind was blown when I first heard that emotions have a frequency. I'm like, what? You can measure a frequency of an emotion? How does that work? And creating this sense of where the frequency sits. So not seeing your emotions as good emotions or bad emotions, as so many of us come to that misunderstanding, but it's more high frequency and low frequency. And I think sometimes people get afraid to feel the low frequency
Mm.
emotions, and so they resist them. The resistance, as you say, is the thing that is painful, not that emotion itself. And
So true. And you add like more vibration on top as well, because it's
yeah,
just like you can imagine just like an onion and you're just adding layers. Well, that doesn't exist in real life, but imagine you're just putting more and more and more layers. So it's going to be so hard to access the core, like, the emotions that you were first resisting. It's even super hard to access because of all the resistance we put. And then it's not just the resistance, it's us at some point in the journey realizing
mm,
there is resistance, feeling bad for having the resistance, feeling shame, like, oh my God, I should be already advanced in my journey. Why am I feeling the resistance? And
yeah,
then you're like, I need to surrender. And then you try to force the surrender and you just keep adding on layers and layers and layers. And the emotions
mm.
you were trying to feel at first, you're like, okay, almost unreachable. Yeah,
Yeah, I love that. It becomes resistance dressed up as acceptance.
exactly.
It's
Yeah,
right.
yeah,
I'll
yeah.
feel this thing, but only with the agenda of you better fix my life. Again, we meet it in this way. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, I love this idea of energy alchemy to create something that is what you desire. And that, I suppose, leads us into this idea of manifestation as well. So would you like to
Mm.
speak to that?
Yeah, definitely. And also, I love to speak about that because I feel like, I mean, there is so much buzz now around, like, especially when you're in the healing community, in all the coaching space, you hear
Yeah,
manifestation here, manifestation there. There
yeah.
is so much around this. And I feel like it's super easy to get in the wrong direction. I mean, not that there is really a right direction, but I feel like when you come back to the essentials of manifestation, it's way easier because there are some people who are like, you surrender and you receive, and some people, and me included, I at
Mhm.
some point I thought, oh, so if I just meditate on my sofa, things will happen. Well, no, you need
Yeah.
the action as well. you
You're sat
know?
there like Lamborghini.
Yeah, yeah, for example. And you're like, oh, why isn't it here yet?
Super hot boyfriend. Yeah.
How can I tell you? And so you mentioned Joe Dispenza just before, and I really,
Yeah.
really love how he does the thing. And
Mhm.
I'm adding even one more step. So you have basically for a manifestation to happen, you need to first set an intention, like a clear intention, because if you don't know what you want, it's just
Mhm.
like, you are at the restaurant and you try to take an order and the waiter is coming. What do you want? I don't know. Okay. So he can't deliver you with anything, or maybe he will try something, but that's not going to be what you wanted very deep at the core. So
Yeah.
first important point is to really understand what it is that I really desire. So you can set an intention, a clear
Mhm.
intention. And then this is the elevated emotion. And this is, I forgot the name of the guy who did that. You have the map of consciousness and you have like all
Mhm.
those emotions that are rated in terms of frequency. And
Yeah.
so the higher you go, with the bliss, the joy, the peace, well, this is a higher vibration. So this is going to be easier for you to get in sync with what it is that you desire. Because you can see
Mhm.
it like this in the quantum field. Okay, we're getting a bit more advanced here, for people who are not aware. But it's basically as if you have a match. In the quantum field, there is a shape. It could be a round, a triangle, a square. And inside of you, you try to create the round, the square, the triangle, depending on what you
Mhm.
try to attract. And when you put yourself into the higher frequency, that's how you change the shape to adapt it to what you want in the quantum field. So let's say you want a round, you go into, let's say, gratefulness, because gratitude, when you are in this gratitude state, this your
Yeah.
energy take the shape of a round, kind of really, making a metaphor
Yes.
here.
Got it.
And so
Hmm.
that can attract the round that is in the quantum field and bring it back to your life because the round is going to see the round and, oh my God, they come
Yes.
together. And when you're in a lower frequency, when you're in the guilt, the shame, you just stay a square. So it's going to be hard to attract the round, right?
Hmm.
So that's basically to make it super, super, super simple. That's why people talk about getting into this higher frequency, the higher emotions. Now, because we're human, I feel like in the industry, so many people stay with those parts. But when we do the deeper work, the inner healing, inner child, all the somatics, the work that you do as well, you
Mm.
realize that getting from the square to the round is a bit harder than, just having the willingness to do it and elevate
Yes.
your energy. Because at
Yeah.
first you need to see which parts of you do not want to turn into a round, which part of you do not want to attract that round, that desire
Yeah.
that you deeply, deeply, deeply want. And so I feel like this is great, like this manifestation thing with like the being in the elevated vibe, but then there is also all the healing that comes underneath and that supports it. And you
Hmm.
can do both at the same time.
Yeah.
Because elevating your frequency, you can do. And at the same time, you need to check what is blocking you from getting into the high frequency. It's just like, trying to start a car. Everything is working. You put the fuel, like you have a good driver, like you know how to drive, but
Yes.
it doesn't start because you see that your subconscious mind is holding the handbrake very tight. And you're like, oh my God, okay. So this is basically how you do it. You prepare the car, fine, you know how to drive, fine, but then you check with the subconscious mind, okay, what are we still holding on to? So the cars can start driving and fast. And so that's super important. And then also what I like to add, actually, there was a fourth things, but this is also surrender because sometimes we get so caught up with the desire we want, and it's like manifestation works when we let go of our
Yes.
desire. And I don't know for you, but in the past months, I've been really gripping onto, I want to attract that in my life. High frequency, inner work. I'm doing all the things. It doesn't work
Yeah.
because
Uh-huh.
yeah. And I
Pressure
realized,
does not equal power.
oh my God, no, 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 definitely not.
Yeah.
And that's why the surrender part comes in. And it's so important. I feel it's just like I had the download yesterday in my shower. I think I should record a podcast in my shower because this is when I have the craziest downloads. But basically, it's always a dance, manifestation works. It's yin and yang, yang where you put the clear intention and you elevate your vibe and you do all the work.
Mm.
And then there is the yin part, the receiving part. Oh, that's
Yeah.
also new here. Yeah,
Hmm.
because then you need to surrender. When you surrender, you put yourself into the feminine flow, the reception mode. That's how the
Hmm.
manifestation can land. Because if we are always into the action, doing, trying, forcing, resisting,
Yeah.
the round cannot land. There is no more space. It cannot land. Oh,
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, first time I say that. So
Ah,
yeah,
so beautifully put.
a little blueprint on manifestation here.
Energy alchemy for manifestation, yeah. And what I loved and you shared is that often there are these two parts, and one of them is, yeah, of course I want the thing, and that often sits in your conscious mind. And then there are also other parts in this more in the subconscious that are like, we
Hmm,
don't want the thing, and that often is
exactly.
related to fear. And so I would say, and I got this from the book Existential Kink, which I think I've mentioned this in
Mm,
so many of my podcasts lately.
I
I loved
need
that
to read
book.
this one.
Oh,
I
it's
heard
so
that so
good.
many times. Okay.
Yeah, and she says having is evidence of wanting, and it's so true because the thing that you have that ideally you don't want, like let's say you're at a cap in your income right now and you want something different, there's a part of you that wants that cap on your income. So having that is evidence that there's a part of you that wants it.
Ooh, that's
And
good.
so, yeah, and so there may be parts that you get into your higher frequency. Maybe you even do orgasmic manifestations, sex magic, and you're in this really high elevated state and you're trying to attract the thing. But your fear is also there and the block is also there. So until you look in and realize, well, what part of me would want this? Why would I want this? And
Mm.
by the way, I think sometimes people get afraid to feel their fear or to acknowledge it because then they think, oh, I'm going to manifest the thing that I don't want.
Oh gosh,
And
yeah. But you're still manifesting it because it's not because you don't feel it that it's not there. Huh?
yes, the way that I see it is more that it blocks the thing that you do want, but fear is such a low frequency that it's not a high magnetic pull. So don't be afraid of dropping into your fear to feel that all the way through, to explore it, to find the wisdom out of it. You're not going to accidentally manifest being poor for the rest of your life or whatever it is that you're
No,
so afraid of.
definitely.
You're
And
just,
that's, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
you
go
get
for
to
it.
become free of it. You get to really explore that in a much more powerful and meaningful way as the roadmap to get to the thing that you actually want.
Exactly. And that's literally like the definition of energy alchemy. This is
Hmm.
literally the thing, this is how you transmute. There is no thousands of way around. And actually, I'm going to host a masterclass very soon in 2 weeks on the 20th of May. And this is literally the whole thing. Like I bring it down to a super simple process on how you can transmute and yeah, then manifest things in your life or just get your butt out of the sofa and do the right things, like when we procrastinate and everything. But basically the main point in that is yeah, when you're able to surrender and be like, okay, I'm going to feel into my fears and I'm just going to dance with them for a moment, like just with
Mm,
my awareness, be fully present with them. That's how you start. That's how you activate, this
yeah.
transmutation process, the energy alchemy. And that's how you turn that square that I mentioned at the beginning into the round. And it sounds paradoxical because when we dive into the fear,
Mhm.
especially when we're starting our spiritual growth journey, we feel like, oh my god, oh no, I need to stay in the elevated vibration. But the thing is that you can imagine it's just like you have a carpet and there is a lot of dust under. It's not because you don't see it that the dust is not under it, and the
Yeah.
dust here in this case attracts more dust as well. Well, probably not true in because okay, anyway, the carpet is still here,
We'll go with it. Yeah.
but we'll go with it. But this is the thing when diving into the fears and allowing yourself to feel them is just the action of taking, the carpet out, realizing there is a lot of
Mhm.
dust and cleaning the dust. And this is only through that way that you can take those fears out of your system. And then guess what? It's just so much easier to stay in the high vibration because also that's the thing. Getting in the high vibration, I feel like it's pretty easy. Holding the vibration
Yes.
on the long run is a whole different story. And
Mhm.
for that, you need to clear like what's under the carpets. Definitely. Yeah.
Mm, yeah, I really love this. And I think the way that I'm seeing this show up in business right now for a lot of my clients is around, let's say you're running a launch or something like that, and you get in the high frequency and you're like, yeah, go, go, go. But the more you actually get closer to your goal and the more things start manifesting into reality, I'm like, I'm getting all these clients. And then suddenly the fear gets a bit louder of like, oh my God, you're gonna have so much responsibility. Are you gonna have time to do all of this? And all the fear kind of starts getting louder. And if you're not willing to meet that, then that can kind of take you out of the game a little bit. So by being able to be with and meet all these parts and integrate, accept and love is just hugely powerful. So yeah, I really love that. Um,
Hmm.
and one thing you shared earlier as well, which I kind of want to bring a bit more presence to, because I thought it was such a powerful truth bomb, is around this idea of like being in the shower and you get these downloads because you create the space, right? And I think for many of us, I mean, if you're listening to this, you probably can relate. This idea that we always can buy into this misunderstanding that we always need to be busy all the time. So it's like, oh, I need to have a podcast in my ear, or I might need to be making content or doing this thing, go, 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 or listening to a training. And then you're actually not creating any space for your own intuition and your own downloads to come through. So again, it's like, where's the landing pad for your rounds to come in and land? And whether that round
Definitely.
that you're looking for be something in your physical 3D or an idea or a thought that gets you closer to that goal. So having that space is powerful. And I think for many people, that space is actually created in the shower because we don't have our headphones in the shower, right? We're not looking at our screens when we're in the shower. We're not yapping with somebody else in the shower. It's just time on our own. And so
This
that's
is
when we get a
so
lot of
true.
stuff drop in. But you don't have to wait till you're in the shower. You can create time consciously to leave
Definitely.
space for life to surprise and delight you with what lands in.
Gosh, I have the full goosebumps. Yeah, this is so true. I never like fully realized. I mean, I knew that, yeah, when you have those moments, it's amazing because you create the space and so many things can land. And why is it so hard for us to just decide, oh, I'm feeling a bit stuck and overwhelmed. I'm just gonna lay down on my bed and do nothing. The, the ego is like, what? What do you mean? What do you mean nothing? But then when
Yeah.
it's a shower, it's fine because we kind of have to go there, and do that. So it's okay. But it's
Yeah.
crazy that for so many of us, especially on this path, of guiding, of being a mentor, or entrepreneurs in general, it's just like, I don't know, it feels almost like a guilt and a shame, like, oh my God, I'm not being productive and I need to maximize all my time and use all of that.
Mm.
This is crazy and honestly guilty too. Like I do have that definitely. And
Yeah.
actually, also, I realized, and like, let's go more real and raw, but it's for me, my business is not like skyrocketing yet, and I had to take a job on the side. And I realized that I was away from me, like, I literally, that was pure energy alchemy here, because I was
Hmm.
resisting the feeling, I was resisting this decision, I was literally resisting taking the job.
Yeah.
But if I had to be honest and use that same process, like this is the process I will share in my master class. But literally, when you really land deeply, and that talks manifestation too, when you land with your desires, when you really got clear, when you get clear with what you want, then it's just a question of transmuting the resistance and the
Hmm.
fears, and it's literally the art of doing nothing. There is nothing for you to do. Like, once you realize that, okay, this is what I want, and this is what I feel, just stay with what you feel until it transmutes. And then you get on the other side. This is when you make the decision, this is when you commit. And for me, what happened on my nervous system is that it brought me out of financial scarcity.
Yeah.
Because even though I was trying really hard for all those months to make it work and do all the posts and the launch and da and da and da da da, and I was really, I was pretty good, at raising, my vibration. But
Yeah.
holding it was really a pain in the ass. Like, it was really hard. And my subconscious basically was like, you can't fake it. There is no income coming in the bank account. I know that. There is nothing you
Hmm.
can do about it. And I had to be very humble, and to realize that and be like, okay, I'm going to take care of myself. I'm going to take a job. And since I took a job, I have 4 new clients. So I'm like, thank
Congratulations.
you so much. But
Yeah.
this is literally the thing. When I spoke about surrender, this is, to me, this is what surrender looks like.
Oh,
Because
yeah.
yeah, when you surrender, God is like, now you can hear the plan. Now you can receive the plan I had for you. Ah,
Hmm.
that was okay. Thank you.
Oh my gosh, so gorgeous. Thank you so much for sharing that. And I think it really will be healing for so many people who are working on their
Mm,
business right now and can relate. And I can certainly relate to this also. So, how healing for your nervous system to be able to say, okay, let me just show you that there is some money in the bank because if that's what you think is safe, let's get some of that in
mm,
so you feel good to carry on. And until you do that, I mean, and I'll speak from my previous experience on this, you might be doing all the things of how do I make it work? And then you're like, the strategy, the email flow, the da 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 da. And it's pressure again, which doesn't lead to power. And
definitely, yeah.
when you check in and you think, wait, why was I actually doing all the things? Like, I thought I was doing all these things from a high frequency space because I was convicted and going to get the result. But actually, when I boil it down, I was doing that out of fear because I didn't think it was going to work. And then I was like,
Mm,
okay, I'm not actually moving in my power here. But when I started moving in my business from this space of pleasure and play and how fun can this be and what do I really want to share with the world and how can I just embody more of my own authenticity? How can I show up more fully, just loving and accepting myself versus pretending that I never fail or pretending I've never got
mm,
anything wrong before and in episode 3, I talk more about expanding your time horizons instead of looking at like the launch. Is it a win or is it a fail? Therefore, am I good or am I bad? Expanding it to be like,
yeah.
hey, I've got the privilege of showing up and playing this game. Then that made it so much more fun and freeing. And so there are
Mm,
things you can do around your nervous system to build safety in that and also to reflect on there are going to be many times where things don't work out. And if you're a 3 on the Enneagram, like both of us are, the achievers, our biggest fear is fear of failure. So we don't want to get it wrong to the extent that we'll try so hard to not do that. And it takes us out of our magic and into pressure, which, as we say, isn't a great landing pad for the things that you want. So there's a lot of, as you say, unlearning and recalibrating to expand your capacity to be with more fear without letting it take you out the game. So I really honor how you expanded that capacity by creating an environment that felt so nurturing for you to move forward, and how beautifully the universe rewarded you for that step too.
thank you so much. Yeah, and it took me a lot of time and a lot of resistance to
Mhm.
actually decide and commit to, just realize that I was in a different season. And actually, I really love what you just shared about the time horizon, because for me, that was also, this is something that was blocking me from taking the right aligned decision for myself. Because what
Mhm.
happened basically in my subconscious, because I dived into it to check in with the parts of me that were resisting taking the job, obviously.
Yes.
And I realized that they were like, but if we take the job, we won't have time anymore for the business, and maybe it's gonna last forever. And I was like, well, no, not forever. And when I was able to reframe with them that it was just a season, because this job is just like is for 5 months, I think. And so
Mm.
yeah, it's for 5 months. So this is just a certain time frame, but I realized that for parts of me, it felt like it was forever. It was like, I was losing so much time. But I feel like what really helped me set my nervous system free was, okay, not only having the money coming in, but also to realize and to really make sure that all parts of me really get that this is a season. This is just a different game I'm playing. And I feel like not just for business, but in general in our lives, when you start to, you zoom out and you just realize you're this little human in a body living on this big rock floating around the sun. At first, things start to be a bit more, okay, maybe this is not such a big deal. And also when you realize that life is about living it and you're just playing different games. And right now, I was trying to play the businesswoman making impact and da da da, and I still want to
Mhm.
play that game, but I want to play it different. So I'm pulling a different card from my deck of cards, and I'm playing as well the businesswoman undercover in a job, or whatever. It's just like I feel this way of seeing life is so much
Yeah.
easier. I've been playing the traveler. I've been playing like so many different games actually in my life. And I feel like when you really see life as the big giant, it's kind of like a game field, like a field where you can play so many games and have so many different experiences. You start to attach less to the end result, and you realize that what's important is not the game itself, but it's the fact that you're playing the game. And I feel
Mhm.
like this is just so releasing for the nervous system, and especially when you are in business and entrepreneurs. I feel like, to me at least, and this is how my nervous system works. Again, not everyone is the same, but I had to realize that making sure that I will stay in the game longer by providing for myself financially, this is my way, and fine. So I'm accepting that. And
Yeah.
today I'm feeling good with it, which is amazing.
Oh, gorgeous. I love this. The idea of playing the game and staying in the game. And a lot of people, as you
Mm.
say, they don't stay in it long enough to find out. And I'm new to, let's say, we'll use the example of the podcast because I'm new to podcasting, right? This is going to be episode, I'm not sure, 7 or 8.
Ooh.
And I read that only, I think it's 10% of podcasts make it past, I think it's 20 episodes or something like that. So if you get, no, hang on, if you get to 21 episodes in your podcast, you're in the top 1%.
Really?
Isn't that wild?
I have 22.
She's in the top 1%, babes. And I was thinking, wow, imagine in like a couple months' time, I'm going to be in the top 1% because I back myself that I'm going to see this through. But a lot of
Mm,
people, their fear will take them out of the game before they get that far.
yeah, that's so true. And I realized this playing out in my life as well, because to be fair, like I'm telling you, yeah, I have the new job and I have 4 clients here in real actually, like in person, which is amazing.
Hmm.
And I've been showing up way less on social media, which is like for me, this is like a part of me is super happy with that because I'm not the biggest social media fan, even though I'm really happy to share my voice and etc. But a part of me is also like, girl, we have big plans. We want to stay in the game. And I think like one of the only way to really make sure that you get enough wealth, it's like through building as well an online part in your business. Like this is my view, that there are business models that are like just very wealthy, let's say, and really supportive. And I feel like internet, online,
Hmm.
this is like really helping. And I forgot what I was saying. That happens to me sometimes. I'm going
That's
somewhere
okay.
and my brain is like, no, not anymore.
Yeah, well, what I heard in that and what was powerful for me is this idea of creating a pathway that feels authentically aligned in your business. And what I want to
Oh,
reflect to you is that I also, when I started my business, I thought
mm,
online was the way that I wanted to go and that online was the right way because I'd seen a lot of coaches coach online, have clients from all around the world and be like pouring into ads. And I'm like, okay, this is the way to do that. And I was pressuring my way there through that route, and I was getting nowhere. And it was actually when I went into offline marketing and going down that route that I actually built more of an embodied and successful business through that.
Mm,
And now I'm sort of, I would say, more getting into the online space from a much more powerful place where I really believe in the methodology that I've developed. I really have so much, I guess, social proof behind me from the clients that I've worked with. And now I feel like I'm at the space where I can scale online, whereas I wasn't before. So I would
mm,
say check in and don't make the way that is working for you wrong. Because if it's
exactly.
working, like, God, enjoy the receiver channel. Maybe offline is your route for now. In person is the route for now, and it can only open more doors moving forward too.
Yeah, that is, yeah, yeah. This is actually also very true because even I told you I'm launching this masterclass. It's online, and I feel good about
Hmm.
this because I don't have any pressure around that. And I
Yeah.
want to build my community, and I don't have any pressure around that because I know that for at least 5, 6 months, I'm good to go, and I have my clients
Hmm.
here, and I start to have people coming to me like, "Oh, I heard you're giving sessions." I'm like, "What? You heard?" Which is amazing. And
Yeah.
also, I feel like because I really don't like this black or white concept of reality because reality is so much more complex. And I
Hmm.
realized that, yeah, in person is amazing for me and it really helps. And at the same time, I also want to show up online because I do enjoy sharing my voice. I do enjoy doing
Yeah.
the stuff online. I really do enjoy sharing things online on social media that's just disrupt. It's hard for me to say, but disrupt
Yes.
the place, especially I was like celebrating, hey, that's my first job as an entrepreneur. Like, what? Who says that?
Yeah.
And this is important. And because, yeah, remember, I wanted to touch base on what you said with like the 1% in the podcast, and it's about committing and showing up. And
Mm.
why I feel like I would say what gets people to stop their podcast before they reach 20 episodes, for example, is that at some point there is resistance that's going to come on the way. At first you're super excited, you go for it, it
Mhm.
feels amazing, and then the motivation drops. And this is when, to me, and let's bring it back to energy alchemy, this is when you need to get freaking good at transmuting your feelings and your emotions, because then it's not just discipline about like doing the podcast, but it's discipline about checking in with your fears, checking in
Yeah.
with like what's coming up. And personally in human design, I'm a manifesting generator. So I jump from things to things, always, constantly. So for me, especially, this is super important to keep that discipline of, okay, now I haven't like this is happening to me right now. This is like a real-time example, but I haven't shown up so much on social media, like maybe one post per week.
Hmm.
And now I realize, like, okay, a part of me is happy with that because I don't want to post so much. And this is going good for me right now in my life. And so much is happening behind the scenes. And if I want to stay in the game, I gotta be really honest with myself. I know that part of it is like still staying present, in the online community as well, because I started to build beautiful connections there. And so
Mm.
this is the moment where I need to check in with myself. And this is something that I'm currently working on, checking with the parts of me who are like just pretending that, no, it's amazing offline. Yeah, but what are you afraid of?
Yeah.
Nothing? No. And so, yeah, I wanted to add that because we humans are so much more complex than the, the brand bold fears. There is so much into it. It's not
Hmm.
just that I don't like to be on social media. It's also that there are fears and everything is
Yeah.
fine in the end. And the more we are able to accept all parts of us, everything of us, and just land into that and surrender and be like, oh yeah, true. I'm just human and living the human experience. Oh, I forgot.
Yes.
This is
Yeah.
when crazy things happen.
Beautiful. And yeah, I totally agree that there can be, this one part that's very convincing of like, yeah, oh no, we just don't like to do that. And this other thing is working really well. And then you're like, what's here? Oh, it's a fear of being seen. Okay. Oh, let's boil that down even more. Ah, it's a fear of rejection. Okay. And then, because as you go through this entrepreneurship, podcasting, creating social media posts, like whatever it is that you do, you have to expand your capacity to be rejected because there is absolutely no way that you're going to be for everyone. If you are going to really share your message and own your power in what you're sharing, that is going to be polarizing sometimes. That is going to activate and trigger some people who are not ready to hear your message. And that's okay. But let's say if you have a deep wound around the wounded feminine and you're into people pleasing in a big way that it stops you from sharing your message, well, there we go. It's like your shame is going to be the source of your power in a big way in this, because the more you can own your voice and truly accept yourself and your wholeness and share yourself authentically, then that is honestly magnetic. It is going to completely
Mm,
repel some people, and it's meant to, because not everyone is meant to be in your world. But the people who are for you are going to be like, "Vroom, how do I play with you? Like, what's it like in your
yeah.
world?" And one thing that Marina and I were talking about on your podcast, we've got an episode coming out soon, was a sense of wholeness. And you mentioned that there is a part of you in your wholeness that was just uh, so ready to be set free and to be owned and more fully embodied, and that that was a big part of what you're sharing at the moment. So, do you want to tell us about this?
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. I mean, I feel like there are so much that comes to it. Yeah, like this is literally where I'm pivoting right now. And this is helping people. Well, if we bring it down to one simple topic, it's like the value, help people see their value, feel good being themselves, love themselves, accept themselves.
Mm.
And for me, the way to get there, this is when you accept yourself as a whole, with all the different parts of you. And something that I will share in my masterclass, this is basically the art of being weird. Because I realized, and this is what I realized for myself, honestly, if you take
Yeah.
me back in the years when I was a child, thinking that one day I would be here recording a podcast with you, impossible, because I would be the
Mm.
kid turning red like a tomato when being asked a question in class. Super, super, super shy. Even asking my way to stranger in the street was like not possible. And so what brought me there? Well, a lot of work, a lot of personal development, a lot of somatic work and inner
Mm.
parts and all this stuff. But to be fair, I feel like one thing that really moved the needle for me, and everything is complementary, it's not just like this one thing will change everything when you do you know, all the kind of work you can do. This is amazing. For me, being weird with myself really moved the needle for me because when you're able to witness yourself in the weirdest craziest, phases when you do the craziest faces, where when you
Yeah.
walk like an animal in your room and you do really the craziest shit, and you're like, I hope no one sees. And you don't have to share that with everyone. It's your thing, it's private. But once
Yeah.
I feel like once you're able to do it for yourself, with yourself, to look at
Yeah.
yourself in the mirror and really make the crazy faces and talk like whatever, and accept that and love yourself for that,
Mm.
this is a real, real, real mover in the self-love. And honestly, I feel like I'm my best friend. I know I got my back. And then, when people say, like we're talking about rejection, but when people are judging you, you're like, oh, if you knew. It doesn't even bother you because
Yeah.
the more intimate you are with yourself, the
Yeah.
less you cannot care less about what people say because you got your back.
Totally.
That's it. And
Oh
when
my
you feel
gosh.
hurt, you just do the transmutation. Easy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you want to dive into more on these topics, episode one is wholeness, episode two is judgment. And when you realize that other people could never really judge you, they're just judging themselves. And so by sometimes seeing you embody your fullness and your weirdness and all that, if that's triggering for them, there's a part of them that's looking to be more fully embodied and expressed. And they're
Mm,
probably deep down thinking, damn, I wish I had the confidence to be that weird. And maybe I've spent my whole life thinking I need to mask or hide these parts of me. So if somebody is triggered, great. That is the doorway to your freedom. And either you think,
mm,
she's weird and I don't like that, or you think, oh, there's something for me here. And it's like, where do you like to check into your power, or do you just want to be annoyed? So I love that. And I think you're
mm.
just so lovable and so magnetic. And I love seeing you embody this more fully. So yeah, thank you so much for sharing that.
Thank
And
you.
as an ADHD girly, I for sure have a lot of weird, And I recently moved in with my housemate. And initially I was thinking, okay, well, now I can't have my nighttime zoomies and sing around and dance around with Bentley, my dog, and just like do all the weird voices that I do with him. And then I realized I can absolutely do all of that. There's this difference between secrecy and privacy, right? And I don't have to share that with everyone.
Mm.
It's not necessarily in line with my brand, but I also don't have to keep that part of me a secret. And actually, turns out my housemate finds it hilarious anyway. So,
It
sometimes we
most of the
imagine we'll be
time, yeah.
rejected. Yeah. And it's like, no, this is just actually very endearing.
That is so true. And I feel like this is important here, as you said, to remember, like to remind people that, yeah, there's a difference between authenticity and transparency. You don't have to share everything with the world. And sometimes you can be even more authentic, keeping things for yourself than trying to showcase everything, for the sake of showcasing to the world,
Yeah.
because there is a high chance you're not doing this from an authentic place, like an
Yeah.
embodied place. So yeah.
Yeah.
And so definitely about the weird thing, I think that was post shower. I don't know, did like the weird principle framework. You have like five principles plus one about like how to embody the weird. And basically, this is not just embody the weird, but it's like how you come back to this place of wholeness and how you come back to this place where you're like, oh yeah, true, I forgot that was life. Oh yeah, I'm just living life. And this is also those principles that help you get into the energy alchemy game, like how you transmute harsh feelings so you can go from overthinking and questioning everything and really not moving an inch in your business or in your life, in your
Yeah.
relationships, to actually doing the right aligned things. And this is such a simple process because in the end, whether we do the yoga, the inner part work, the energy healing, it doesn't matter the modalities, they all go down the same line. It's always the same things. And when you do somatic work, you understand this, it all comes down to the sensations, the awareness, being present to what we have. And so this combined with like those principles, I feel like is very, very powerful. So if there is anyone here interested in joining the masterclass, I don't know when you are releasing the podcast actually, but it's
Yeah.
going to be on the 20th
I'll
of
get it
May.
out before the 20th of May for you. So yeah, please share with people if they're listening to
Yeah.
this and they're thinking, how do I get in and play in your world? What is proximity like? Where can people find you and what have you got going on?
So I have this masterclass. So at first, where do you find me? On Instagram. Yeah, I said I wasn't really present there, but I'll do my best, especially now that I'm launching that masterclass.
Yes.
It's Indigo Flow _ with life, but I guess you're going to put the link as well in the
Link in the show
yeah,
notes, yes.
in the show notes. Yeah. And so right now there's the masterclass. If you're curious about what I do, this is going to be a free masterclass, so you can definitely invite yourself. Like you're invited in it, basically. I also have, as you mentioned, the podcast Shift Inside. This is also a way to get like a free look into what I do. And then at the moment, I'm really focusing on my one-on-one sessions. And as you said, I do theta healing and psychic surgery. So this is a deep.
Oh no, I think we're frozen.
No, are
Okay.
we?
Oh, we're back. Good.
We're back.
The
No, I
internet
didn't.
gods have pulled through for us. So
Yeah,
I
because
got,
this is huge energy healing.
yes,
So,
yeah.
so what did you get?
I got
I said
to theta healing and psychic surgery.
amazing. Yeah, this is, yeah, you see, usually when I speak about those things, like internet freeze, because this is deep, 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 deep work. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, if you're not aware, you can still like talk to me, come see me on my social media to chat about that. But basically, this is deep inner work, deep inner healing work, um, working on so many different things, whether it's a relationship topic, business topic, like attracting money in, new clients, whether it's just like how do I freaking feel good in my life. Like right now I'm helping people who are in deep depression, like clinical depression, and this is
Yeah.
wow, this is it's beautiful. You can do literally anything from that. So my one-on-one sessions, and I'm soon opening my community. So yeah, there's a bunch of things. You can always find me on Instagram, and this is where you have access to all of that. Yeah.
Oh, gorgeous. And I'm sure there are going to be so many people who want to stay connected with you. So thank you so much for sharing. So before we close out for today, is there anything that you feel like we haven't spoken about that you would love to share?
Mm, when you asked me, like the only thing that landed was like, hey, just remember again, you're a human living this human game. So maybe it's time to take some of the pressure out, in the end, where maybe
Yeah.
you're here listening. I don't know where you are in your life, what you want to do or not, but the fact that we are here talking, the fact that you're here listening, this
Hmm.
is all that matters because you are, that's all that matters. You're playing the game, you're playing the human game. Fine, now do what you want with that. And I feel like for me, at least, this is taking so much pressure out. Like, oh yeah, I'm
Yes.
breathing, I'm doing good.
Yes. Allow yourself to be both human and being. We don't have to constantly chase this idea of enlightenment or however you like to call it. So yeah, what a wonderful reminder.
Definitely.
Ah,
Yeah, and
Marion, this
actually
was,
also like when you put yourself into that mindset, this
yeah.
is when you allow yourself to really do great things and go for the big things because you are with so much less pressure, so much
Mm,
less resistance that you create the space to go create amazing things.
yeah.
Anyway.
Ah, so gorgeous. I mean, this was just such a soul enlightening conversation, and I have loved having you on the podcast. So thank you so much for being here.
Well, thank you so much for having me. That was beautiful. I really love talking with you. Like we have this soul connection and we are talking the same language. I love that.
We can
Thank
yaff a
you.
lot.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
So, if
Thank
you're
you.
listening to this and this episode really resonated, imagine playing full out in your business while expanding your life in ways you never thought possible. And that's exactly what we do inside of my mastermind aligned ascension. It is high vibe, application only for women who are serious about creating their next level personally and professionally. And you can check out the show notes for more details and head over to my Instagram at Katie Rogers Coaching to hang out with me there. Thank you so much for being here, honeys. I see you on the next episode. Mwah.